Hello and welcome back. Today we'll talk about JavaScript operators. Before we start, please consider subscribing to the channel to show your love. If you ask me, I would say operators are one of the most important topic in JavaScript. We'll see all the different types of operators. So let's get started. We'll start with arithmetic operators. These are pretty straightforward and self-explanatory. We use this to perform any arithmetic operations. Before we dig in, I would want you to know what is an operator and what is an operand. An operator performs some operation on a single or a multiple operands. Operands are the data values on which the operation is performed. In the example shown above, num1 and num2 are operands and the plus symbol is an operator. So there we are performing an arithmetic operation, that is addition. In the next line, we have performed a subtraction operation. Moving on, we also have done multiplication. If you see the values, it is just simple arithmetic. Here, we mostly perform all the arithmetic operations. There is a special type of operator called modulus operator, which gives you the remainder of the two operands. If the left operand is smaller than the right operand, when we perform a modulo operation, the left operand is returned as a result. However, if you want to see something else, let's try with num3. Num3 is 19 and let's try and modulo it by 3. You will see 1 as remainder. 18 is completely divisible by 3. So 19 should have 1 as remainder, and that's what is shown on the screen. Now let's talk about increment operators. There can be two different kinds, post increment and pre-increment. So let's see the difference. So I have taken number 10 and I'm calling num1 plus plus. It returns 10, but if you see the value of num1, you see it is 11. So what is happening here is the value of num is changed, but you don't see it until you call it. You call the variable and then increment its value by 1. You can get the incremented value of variable from the very next statement after you use the post increment operator. Now let us see pre-increment operator. This works almost similar. It increases the value of the num1 by 1, but it does it immediately. So what it means is you can use this incremented value immediately instead of using in the next statement. I strongly recommend you watch this video again if you did not understand this. And also I'll not be digging deeper on the decrement operators because it works pretty similar to increment operators. Just that it decreases the value of a variable by 1. For demonstration purposes, I've used another variable called num2. I've already declared it and I've assigned the value to 20. Now I'll be calling a decrement operator on num2. So this is the post decrement operator. So when I call num2, it is decremented by 1, but the value is not reflected until I just call the number. However, if I use a pre-decrement operator, the value is directly decremented and the result is shown. So hope this clarifies how incrementer operator and a decrement operator works. Now let's move on to comparison operators. So this operator is used to compare two operands. So let's start with double equal to. So we can check the equality of two operands without considering the type. Type as in the data type, and returns boolean value, either true or false. We'll start with comparing 1. So if I compare 1 with 1, it returns true, which is as expected. Now let's compare 1 with 1, which is a string. So if you see, surprisingly it is true. That is because of double equal to. As I mentioned earlier, it does not consider types. You can also see when we compare 1 with true, the result is true. So in JavaScript, there are a couple of things which we can use to mark it true or false. So let's see something with false. See, if you see that 0, when it's compared with false, it returns true. So you can safely assume that 0 and false values are same when the types are not considered. To understand this, you will need to know what a coercion is in JavaScript. Anyways, we will be looking at it in later videos. In this video, I will be redirecting you guys to a website where you can see the differences between double equal to and triple equal to. How do they compare the operands? I'll provide the link to this in the description. Please visit the link and try and get a complete picture. Along the x and y axis, we have operands, and whatever is mapped to green, that will evaluate to true, else it will be false. I strongly encourage to pause the video here and try it all by yourself. Now let us look at triple equal to. The one major difference here is, here the type is considered. If you provide the same value with different data types, now it is going to return false. So this is how triple equal to and double equal to works in JavaScript. I strongly recommend you to go back to the link which I have provided in the description and try out all the different combinations and get a better understanding. Please feel free to pause the video and see how triple equal to equates the operands. I'll now demonstrate one example where double equal to returns true and triple equal to returns false on the same set of operands. Please pause the video and try and get an idea. I strongly recommend you practice all of this before moving forward. Now let us look at not equal to operator. It returns true when two operands are not equal. If you now see, I have just compared 1 not equal to 1, it returned false. How about 1 not equal to 0, it returned true. So if the value of operands are different, it returns true. I believe this was pretty straightforward and hope you all understood. Now let's look at greater than operator. It checks whether the left side value of the operand is greater than the right operand value. If yes, then it returns true, otherwise it returns false. I have demonstrated the same thing on the video. I've compared 10 with 1, 1 is greater, it is returned true. However, when I compare 1 and 10, 1 is lesser than 10, it is returned false. When I compare 10 is greater than 10, it returned false because 10 is equal to 10, it is not greater. So there is another operator to check the equality and or the greater symbol, that is greater than or equal to. So similarly, I've also demonstrated the less than symbol, which returns true when the value of left operand is lesser than the value of right operand. Similarly, we have lesser than or equal to, but one thing you should notice that you can't use equal to and lesser than, or equal to or greater than. It should be always less than or equal to, or greater than or equal to. So yeah, now we have covered all the other operators in the comparison operators. This was pretty straightforward and I really hope you understood everything about comparison operators. Let's now continue with logical operators. So there are three operators. They are and, or, and not. So what happens with and? It checks whether two operators are non-zero and then returns 1 or 0 depending on the evaluation. Non-zero elements can contain 0, false, undefined, null, or empty string. We majorly use this to check multiple conditions on the same line. I'll be demonstrating one such example for both and or operations. Let's get started. In this example, if a person is above 16 and below 18, he is eligible for a learner's license. Let's see how do we code it. I'll be checking an if condition. If age is greater than 16 and lesser than 18, he'll be eligible for learner's permit. So I've just console logged the output and I'm checking the condition on if statement. So now let's provide age is equal to 90. So the condition is undefined. Let's change age to something below 18 and above 16. Let's see what happens. Age is equal to 17. Now let's rerun if statement. So he's eligible for learner's permit. So now you are restricting both boundaries. A person should be older than 16 and lesser than 18. Otherwise, he'll not be eligible for learner's permit. Hope this makes complete sense. By providing and, we are testing multiple conditions. Now let's look at one simple example for or operator. So it's pretty similar. You can check multiple conditions, but if one of the conditions is a non-zero value, then the whole condition is set to true. I am writing a very simple block of code. What I'll be doing is I'll just check if one of the values of the declared variables is hello, then go for a formal greeting, otherwise do nothing. So what I'm doing here is when greet is equal to hello or greet1 is equal to hello, I'll go for formal greetings. So one of my values here greet is hello, hence I've got a formal greeting. So now I'll change greet to hi. We'll see what happens. Now both greet and greet1 are hi, so we shouldn't get any output because I haven't defined an else block, which is working as expected. So this is how OR works. So earlier we had one condition which satisfied the requirement. Now both the conditions do not satisfy the requirement. So if you're still not sure, let's check the value of greet and greet1. As both are high, we did not get any response on the console. Hope this clarifies how OR works. Now let's look at NOT operator. What it does is it just reverses the Boolean result of the operand. If an operand value is true, it'll reverse the operand's value to false and vice versa. Now that we are familiar with our greeting example, we'll reuse that. So now you know that both greet and greet1's value is high, and the function is not defined when both are high. So I'll be using NOT operator on one of the operands to change the Boolean value of the operand. So now that you can see on the screen, I have if function. When both are high, I see it is undefined. I will use an exclamation mark or NOT operator on greet so that the value of greet is now true. If one of the options is true in an OR operator, it will log the console according to our if block. That is what it has done. Now the greet operator, even though it is false, because we have used NOT, it has become true. Let's also see what happens if I call a boolean on top of a NOT operator. You can see from the screen that now not true value is written false and not false value is written true. This is same for non-zero and zero operands. Now I really hope you understood everything about logical operators. We will now look into assignment operators. This is pretty simple. Let's clear the console and start fresh. As we can see, that our very first operator is equal to. What happens here is it assigns the right operand value to the left operand. In our example on the video, number 10 is assigned to our variable num1. Now you can use num1 and num1 will contain 10 as its value. Our next operator sums up the left and right operand values and assigns the result to the left operand. What I mean by this is if you want to add any particular number to num1, you just need to call num1 plus equal to whatever number you want to add it with. So now I've tried and added number 1 with value 10. The number 1 is now increased to 20. Our next assignment operator is minus equal to. What it does is it'll subtract the number from the left operand. We are pretty much carrying out all the arithmetic operations using these assignment operators. So now we'll multiply. And likewise, we can also divide a number from a left operand. We can also find the modulus of a number using percentage symbol instead of a division symbol. Hope this is clear. If not, probably I'll give you one other example. What we are trying to do is we're trying to shorten our expression. So it is one and the same. If you write num1 is equal to num1 plus 10, this will give you the exact same result as the very first one we did. So currently num1 is 1. So if I try and run this, num1 value will be increased to 11. Or you can subtract, it will be minus 9. You can get a modulo of it, it will return 1. This is pretty much it. Hopefully you will get a better understanding once you start executing your code. Last but not least, we've reached the bitwise operators. So bitwise operators is one of the favorite operators to me because we use this mostly during the competitive coding and stuff. So this is pretty handy and it's faster compared to other operations because it performs its operation on the bit level. So what do I mean by bit level? As you already know that computer understands only zeros and ones. So here we will be performing the operations on zeros and ones. Basically, our operands are bits. JavaScript uses 32-bit bitwise operands. The largest number which you can store in JavaScript is 2 to the power of 31. So it's a big number. Moving on, let's see our first example. So when I perform 5 and 1, it gives me 1 as the result. I'll just explain you why it does so. So in bitwise operations, numbers are converted from decimal to binary. So if you give 5, in binary 5 is written as 0101 and 1 is written as 0001. And when we perform an AND operation on this particular expression, if both the bits are 1, only then the bit is set to 1. If you observe here, only the last bit has 1 in both the operands. Hence, 1 is displayed as the result. Okay, if you're still confused, I'll just quickly show you how a decimal number is converted into binary. Let's take an example. Assume you want to convert decimal number 25 to a binary number. So what you do is you just divide 25 with 2 and you write the remainder separately and then continue until the remainder is 1. Now the series of these remainders will give you the binary number. Now let's look at an OR operation. So if I perform an OR operation on the same set of numbers, I will get 5. That is because 5 has 2 ones and that is enough. So in an OR operator, what do we see is if one of the bits is 1, then we will set the result bit to 1. Let me demonstrate this to you. I'll just write down a binary calculation so that it will give you a better picture. Here we have a binary representation of 5 and 1. If you see the very last bit, even 5 has 1 and 1 has 1, so I am popping in 1 here. And now both the bits are 0, so I said 0. And now one of the bit is 1, so I said 1. Again it is 0, I said 0. So the result bit is 0, 1, 0, 1, which is same as 5. So we will set that as our result. Hope this gives you a better picture on how to perform bitwise calculation on the bitwise operands. Next, we'll talk about XOR operator. Just for your reference, I've written the binary representation of the numbers on the screen. So now I'll just perform a couple of operations so that you can see the result and you can relate it. So if I perform an AND operation on 42 and 2, you see that the result is 2. That is because only second bit's value is 1 in both 42 and 2. But however, it is 0 in 42 and 1 because none of the bits are matching. Now let's see 42 or 1. So here it just checks for one of the bits. If you see 42 or 1, it is 43. And if it see 42 or 2, it is 42. So this gives you like a good picture on how AND and OR works. Now let's look at XOR operator. So let's see what happens with XOR. It checks if one of the bit is set to 1 and that is when it marks the result bit as 1. But one thing you should take care of here is if both bits are 1, then it will not set it to 1. So if you see the given example under 42 and 2, the very first bit is 0, second one both contains 1, the third one is 0 again, the fourth one is 8. In the column 8 you see that 42 has 1 and 2 has 0, so that will be marked as 1, and fifth bit is 16 and that is 0. The seventh bit is 32, so 32 you see that for 42 it is 1 and hence that will be marked as 1. So if you add these numbers, the answer would be 40. That is exactly what is shown on the screen. Now let's look at our next operator, that's NOT. What it does, it negates our bit, like it inverts all the bits. So I have taken 2 as an example. This accepts only one operand onto the right. If I perform NOT 2, so what it does is it converts all ones to zeros and zeros to 1 and changes the sign. So that's what it has done. Not of 2 is equal to minus 3. One other quick thing before I close this, you can't have two operands on not operator. I just used to demonstrate and we see the error now. Now let's talk about zero fill left shift and zero fill right shift or signed right shift. So what it does is when you give a number and with double less than symbol and 2, it actually shifts the binary number, adding two zeros at the end on the left. By doing this, it will alter the value of the left operand. Basically, you will be multiplying the left operand with double the right operand. So now you've given 9 as your left operand and 2 as your right operand. So if you see the result, it is 36. So 9 fours are 36. Now let's try with 9 and 1. It's 18. So 9 twos are 18. So left shift would help you perform multiplication. So now let us look at signed right shift. So what signed right shift does is it pushes rightmost bits and the rightmost bits fall off. That means it will have no values. So let's see what happens in here. In this example, I have taken 9 and 2 again. So when I push 2 bits of 9 out, I am only left with 0010, that is equal to 2. Hope this gives you a good understanding. It is just that we are shifting 2 bits out of 9. Let's see what happens if I shift 1 bit. So you can see this, only 1 bit is moved out of 9. That now 9 becomes 4. Let's now look at zero fill right shift. So what that does is it does the exactly same thing as the right shift, but it changes its behavior when it encounters a negative number. Let us look at one example. Before we perform the zero fill right shift, I'll try and perform one signed right shift on minus 9 as my left operand and 1 as my right operand. So did you see the difference? Now when I triggered minus 9 and 1 using signed right shift, I got my answer as minus 5. But when I trigger the same thing using zero fill right shift, the answer is pretty big. Why is that? A simple answer is that's how it works. So what it does is it shifts right by pushing the zeros from the left and let the rightmost bit fall. Please do not worry if you did not understand everything about bitwise. We will be not using this in day-to-day life. It'll be useful when you go for some coding competitions and stuff. Now let's look at ternary operators. Ternary operators accept 3 arguments. The first one is conditional argument. The second one is statements to execute if it's true. The third one is statement to execute if it's false. So what it does is it'll evaluate the expression given on the first argument. If the expression turns out to be true, it'll execute the first statement, else it'll execute the second statement. You can watch my conditional flow video for more on ternary operators. That's it for this video. I really hope you enjoyed the video and you liked the content. If you did, please give me a thumbs up and share it with your friends. And please don't forget to subscribe.